I'm on my new pillow. Okay, we are live. So I want to welcome to those of you who are here tonight and to those who are joining us online. Today is Thursday, January 2nd, 2025, which means you have 355 days left till Christmas. And I'd like to acknowledge the following people who are having birthdays in the month of January. Today is my son's birthday, and he's almost as old as me. Maya and Brenna will be celebrating their birthdays on the 18th. Pastor's birthday is on the 19th. Quinlan will be having a birthday on the 23rd. And my new grandson will be turning 1 year old on the 29th. So happy birthday to each of you January babies. Today our lesson is the book of Numbers, chapter 8 through chapter 14. So before we begin, I'd like to start off with prayer and gratefulness to the good Lord. So let's start with Kinson.
I want to pray for my family. I want to pray for all my family. Both sets of my grandparents, all my siblings, my dad's scoliosis, my mom, and my baby cousin and their families. I want to pray for our economy, our future, the wildlife, and money, my salvation, all of our salvations, and that's it.
Okay, Sydney.
I want to pray for my family, everyone here in the church, for this year to be a blessed year, and that's it.
Sister Tasha.
Myself, my husband, my children. Pray for my mom and dad. They're sick, so I just pray for their healing right now. Pray for River Stacia and Dax. I pray for you. Pray for the church, and just pray for guidance, strength, and knowledge.
Albert, do you want to pray for anything?
No.
Quinlan?
Just all of us.
Okay. All right. So special prayer for Daisha and Rivers and our little baby who's trying hard to walk. Okay, so let's go to the Lord in prayer. God, we pray that you'll bring Julian and Francesca in tonight. We thank you that Sister Cheryl is online with us tonight. We want to pray for the economy, that our economy will get better now that we got a new president. I want to pray for all of us here tonight that you will give us wisdom and understanding to what thus saith the word of God. God, guide us in your wisdom and your knowledge. Guide us, Lord God. Please keep us in your ways and help us to do the will of God. I want to pray for Tasha's parents. They have COVID, so please, everybody, keep them in prayer. My son is trying to get over a bad flu, and so I pray that you'll touch his body and heal him. I want to pray for, I think all these prayer requests that were mentioned, I want to lay them before you, for you heard them all, and I'm only human. I can't remember them all. I want to pray for Cheryl's family and all of our loved ones that we want salvation for, Lord, and we lay them before you in the name of Christ Jesus. Everybody said,
Amen.
Okay, so Numbers chapter 8 through chapter 14. And here we go. Chapter 8. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and say to him, When you light the lamps, the seven lamps shall give light over against the candlestick. So Aaron lit the lamps over against the candlestick, just as the Lord commanded Moses. And this work of the candlestick was of beaten gold unto the shaft of flowers thereof. And the Lord spoke to Moses and said, Take the Levites from among the children of Israel and cleanse them. And this is what you shall do to them in order to cleanse them. Now, before I go on, I did forget to say, make sure you're all following along with me so that you can make sure I'm not reading it out of context. And then if you disagree with the way I paraphrase things, you can let me know and we can discuss it. Thank you. He said, Sprinkle water of purifying on them and have them shave all their body. Have them wash their clothes in order to make themselves clean. Then have them take a young bullock with his meat offering, even fine flour mingled with oil, and you shall take another young bullock for a sin offering, And you shall bring the Levites before the tabernacle, and shall gather the whole congregation of the children of Israel together. You shall bring the Levites before the Lord, and the children of Israel shall put their hands on the Levites. And Aaron shall offer the Levites before the Lord for an offering of the children of Israel, so they may do the service of the Lord. And the Levites shall lay their hands on the heads of the bullocks or bulls, and you shall offer one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering to the Lord, to make an atonement for the Levites. You shall set the Levites before Aaron and his sons, and offer them an offering to the Lord. Thus shall you separate the Levites from among the children of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine. And after that, the Levites shall go in to do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, and you shall cleanse them and offer them for an offering, for they are given entirely to me from among the children of Israel. Instead of such as open every womb, even instead of the firstborn of all the children of Israel, I have taken them for myself. For all the firstborn of the children of Israel are mine, both man and beast. Say that again. Both man and beast. On the day that I smote every firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctified them for myself. And I have taken the Levites for all the firstborn of the children of Israel, and I have given the Levites as a gift to Aaron and his sons from among the children of Israel to do the service of the children of Israel in the tabernacle, and to make an atonement for the children of Israel, that there be no plague among the children of Israel when the children of Israel come close to the sanctuary. And Moses, Aaron, and all the congregation of the children of Israel did to the Levites according to all that the Lord commanded Moses concerning the Levites, so did the children of Israel to them. And the Levites were purified, and they washed their clothes, and Aaron offered them as an offering before the Lord. And Aaron made an atonement for them to cleanse them. And after that, the Levites went in to do the service of the tabernacle before Aaron and his sons, just as the Lord commanded Moses concerning the Levites. And the Lord spoke to Moses and said, This is it that belongs to the Levites from 25 years old and up. They shall be available to attend the duties of the tabernacle. And from the age of 50 years old, they shall retire and will not have to serve any more. But they shall minister with their brothers in the tabernacle to keep the charge, and shall do no service. That is what you shall do to the Levites concerning their service. So at the age of 50, they get to retire. Those were the days, huh? Chapter 9. And the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the second year. Say that again. The first month of the second year, after they had come out of the land of Egypt, saying, Let the children of Israel keep the Passover also at his appointed season. In the 14th day of this month, at evening time, you shall keep it in his appointed season, according to all the rites of it, and according to all the ceremonies thereof shall you keep it. And Moses spoke to the children of Israel and told them that they should keep the Passover. And they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the first month in the evening in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that the Lord commanded Moses. So did the children of Israel. And there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of a man, and they could not, or were not allowed to keep the Passover on that day, because they were considered unclean. And they came to Moses and Aaron that day and said to him, We have defiled by the dead body of a man. In other words, it's possible these men were pallbearers and had to carry the dead body, the dead man to his resting place. And because they had to touch that body, you touch a dead body, you're considered unclean. So why are we not allowed to offer an offering of the Lord in his appointed season among the children of Israel? That's just not fair, they said. And Moses said to them, You know what? Wait here, and I will hear what the Lord will command concerning you guys. And the Lord spoke to Moses and said, Speak to the children of Israel and tell them, If any man amongst you or of your children shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or maybe they've traveled far away, shall still keep the Passover unto the Lord, except they shall be allowed to keep the Passover on the 14th day of the second month in the evening, and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall leave none of it till morning, nor break any bone of it, according to all the regulations of the Passover. But the man that is clean and has not taken a journey, and refuses to keep the Passover, even that same soul shall be cut off from among his people, because he brought not the offering of the Lord in his appointed season. That man shall bear his sin. And if a stranger shall travel among you and will keep the Passover to the Lord, according to the regulations of Passover, and according to the manner thereof, so shall he do. You shall have just one ordinance, both for the stranger and for him that was born in the land. And on the day that the tabernacle was reared up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, namely the tent of the testimony. And the evening time, there was upon the tabernacle, as it were, the appearance of fire until morning. It looked like the tabernacle was on fire. So it was always. The cloud covered it by day, and the appearance of fire by night. And when the cloud was lifted up from the tabernacle, then the children of Israel knew it was time that they could get up and start traveling. And when the cloud stopped, there the children of Israel set up their tents for the night or for the day, sometimes a month. We'll see. At the commandment of the Lord, the children of Israel journeyed, and at the commandment of the Lord, they pitched their tents. As long as the cloud stood still over the tabernacle, they rested in their tents. And for as long as the cloud stood upon the tabernacle, whether it was many days, then the children of Israel kept the charge of the Lord and did not travel. And so it was when the cloud stood a few days upon the tabernacle, according to the commandment of the Lord, they stood in their tents. And according to the commandment of the Lord, they traveled. And so it was when the cloud abode from evening till morning, and the cloud was taken up in the morning, then they began to travel again. Whether it was by day or night that the cloud was taken up, they traveled. Whether it was day or night, okay? Or whether it were 2 days, a month, or a year that the cloud remained over the tabernacle, the children of Israel stayed in their tents and did not travel. But when the cloud was lifted up off the tabernacle, then they would begin traveling again. Now, while the cloud was over the tabernacle, they did not, it's not like they stood in their tents for almost a whole year. They were able to just do their chores and go out and cook or whatever, and then they rested in their tents every night until they waited for the cloud to be removed from the tabernacle. So at the commandment of the Lord, they rested in the tents. And at the commandment of the Lord, they journeyed. They kept the charge of the Lord at the commandment of the Lord by the hand of Moses. Chapter 10. And the Lord spoke to Moses and said, I want you to make 2 trumpets of silver of a whole piece, shall you make them. So you may use them for the calling of the assembly, all the people together, and also for the journeying of the camps. And when the trumpets shall blow, all the assembly shall assemble themselves together to you at the tabernacle door. And if just one trumpet is blown, then the princesses, which are heads of the thousands of Israel, shall gather themselves to you, just the princesses. When you blow an alarm, then the camps on the east side shall go forward. When you blow the alarm the second time, then the camps on the south side shall go forward. The alarm shall blow when it's time to journey. But when the congregation is to be gathered together, you shall blow, but you shall not sound an alarm. And the sons of Aaron the priest shall blow the trumpets. They shall be to you for an ordinance or a rule to follow from here on out. They will do this forever throughout your generations. And if you go to war in your land against your enemy, then you shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and you shall be remembered before the Lord your God, and you shall be saved from your enemies. Also in the day of your gladness, and in the solemn days, and in the beginnings of your months, you shall blow the trumpets over your burnt offerings, and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God. And it came to pass on the 20th day of the second month, in the second year, that the cloud was taken up from off the tabernacle of the testimony. And the children of Israel took their journey out of the wilderness of Mount Sinai, and the cloud rested in the wilderness of Paran. And they first took their journey according to the commandment of the Lord by the hand of Moses. In the first place went the standard of the camp of the children of Judah. They marched out first, according to their armies, and over his host was Nahshon, And over the host of the tribe of Issachar was Nathaniel. Over the host of the tribe of Zebulun was Eliab. Now, it's really important, these names of who was in charge of each tribe. And the tabernacle was taken down, and the sons of Gershon and Merari set forward, bearing the tabernacle. Their job was to carry the tabernacle once it was torn down. And the standard of the camp of Reuben set forward according to their armies, and over his host was Elizur. And over the host of the tribe of Simeon was Shalumiel. And over the host of the tribe of Gad was Eliasaph. And the Kohathites set forward carrying the sanctuary, and the other did set up the tabernacle against they came. And the standard of the camp of the children of Ephraim set forward according to their enemies, and over his host was Elishama. And over the tribe of Manasseh was Gamaliel. Over the host of the tribe of Benjamin was Abidan. And the standard of the camp of the children of Dan set forward, which was the reward of all the camps throughout their host. And over his host was Ahiezer. And over the tribe Asher was Pagiel. And over the tribe of Naphtali was Ahira. Thus were the journeyings of the children of Israel according to their armies when they set forward. And Moses said to Hobab, the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law, check this out. Moses said to Hobab, now in Exodus chapter 18, Moses' father-in-law's name is Jethro. So I'm assuming one name is in Hebrew and the other is in Greek, but they're the same person, okay? We are journeying unto the place of which the Lord said, I will give it to you if you come with us, and we will do you good. Moses is talking to his father-in-law, Hobab or Jethro. And he said, we're journeying unto the place of which the Lord said, and I will be happy to give it to you if you just come with us, Hobab, and we will do you good, for the Lord has spoken good concerning Israel. And Hobab said to Moses, you know what, I can't go. I have to head back to my own land and to my family. And Moses said, please don't leave us, for as much as you know how we are to camp, how we are to camp in the wilderness, you can be our eyes, our lookout man. And it shall be that what goodness the Lord shall do to us, the same we do to you. But Hobab returned to his land. And they departed from the mount of the Lord 3 days' journey, and the ark of the covenant of the Lord went before them in 3 days' journey to search out a resting place for them. And the cloud of the Lord was upon them by day when they went out of the camp. And it came to pass when the ark set forward that Moses said, rise up, Lord, and let your enemies be scattered, and let them hate you and run away from you. And when it rested, he said, return, O Lord, to the many thousands of Israel. Chapter 11. And when the people complained, oh, what brother, these people are so horrible. When the people complained, it displeased the Lord. And the Lord heard them, and his anger was fueled, and the fire of the Lord burnt among them and killed them that were in the outer parts of the enemy. He caught those people on fire outside of the camp. And the people cried to Moses, and when Moses prayed to the Lord, the fire went out. And he called the name of that place Taberah, because the fire of the Lord burnt among them. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell lusting for meat to eat. Oh, brother, what are they doing now? They're bawling and crying because they want some meat. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, who's going to give us meat to eat? We remember the fish that we ate in Egypt, and it cost us nothing. We had cucumbers to eat and melons and leeks and onions and garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There's nothing at all besides this manna. And the manna was like coriander seed, and the color was like bdellium. And the people went around gathering the manna and ground it in mills. Now they're taking this manna and they're trying to be creative and trying to make different stuff out of it, okay? So some of them ground it in the mills, or some of them beat it in the mortar and baked it in the pans, and they made cakes from it, and it tasted like fresh oil. Doesn't sound very tasty. And when the dew fell on the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it in the morning. And Moses heard the people crying throughout the camp, You know how huge that camp was? We're talking about over 600,000 people overall. That's just counting the men that were able to fight. That's not counting women and children. But here we are. He heard the crying throughout the camp. Every man in the door of his tent, and the anger of the Lord grew worse than before. Moses was also displeased, and Moses said to the Lord, "Why have you afflicted me and laid the burden of all these people on me? Haven't I found favor in your sight? Have I conceived all these people myself? Have I begotten them that you should say to me, 'Carry them in your bosom like a nursing father bears the sucking child to the promised land?' Oh, where am I supposed to get meat to give all these people? For they're crying to me, saying, 'Give us meat that we can eat.' I am not able to bear all this people by myself, Lord, because the burden is too heavy for me. And if you're going to deal with me this way, then just kill me at once, I beg you. If I have found favor in your sight, then don't let me see my despicable misery." And the Lord said to Moses, I would have thought the Lord got mad at Moses for talking to him like that, but he didn't. He really respected Moses because Moses was a very humble man, okay? He was patient. And the Lord said to Moses, "I want you to gather to me 70 men from the elders of Israel, who you know are elders and officers over them. Bring them to the tabernacle and have them stand with you. And I'm going to come down and talk with you there. I will take of the Spirit which is upon you, Moses, and I'm going to put it on them, and they are going to bear the burden of the people with you, so you won't have to bear it alone." Do you believe that? Do you believe God could really do that? Yeah, I do too. I do too. I believe God could do things like that and say to the people, "Sanctify yourselves for tomorrow, and you shall eat meat. For you have cried in the ears of the Lord, saying, 'Who shall give us meat to eat? For we were better off in Egypt.'" Oh man, I want to say, won't you shut your mouth? "Therefore the Lord will give you meat," Moses said to them, "all the meat you could possibly eat. You shall not eat for just one day, not 2 days, not 5 days, not 10 days, but 20 days, even a whole month, until it comes out of your nostrils and you can't stand it anymore. And all because you have despised the Lord, which is among you, and have cried before him. Why did we leave Egypt?" That's what you're saying. And Moses said, "The 600,000 footmen have said, 'I will give them meat so they can eat for a whole month.' Shall the flocks and the herds be killed for them? To even be enough meat to suffice them?" All the flocks that they have and the herds weren't even enough to feed 600,000 plus. And the Lord said to Moses, "Has the Lord's hand become shortened? You shall see now whether my word shall come to pass unto you or not." And Moses went out and told the people what the Lord had said. And Moses gathered the 70 men of the elders, set them all around the tabernacle. And the Lord came down in a cloud and spoke to Moses, and then took from Moses his spirit and gave it to the 70 elders. And it came to pass that when the Spirit rested on them, guess what happened? They all began to prophesy and did not stop. I mean, they were worshiping and prophesying and probably crying out to God. But there remained two of the men in the camp. One was Eldad, and the other was Medad. And the Spirit rested on them also. Now, why are these two men mentioned separately? Because these men were told to come with the 70 elders to the tabernacle, but they did not show up. These two men prophesied in the camp, not in the tabernacle. And there ran a young man and told Moses, "Moses, Eldad and Medad are prophesying in the camp." And Joshua, the servant of Moses, his right-hand man pretty much, answered and said, "My Lord Moses," small l, "my Lord Moses, command them to stop." And Moses said to him, "Are you envious for my sake? Don't you think that God would prefer that all the people were prophets and that the Lord will put his Spirit upon them?" And Moses went out the camp along with the elders of Israel. And there went forth a strong wind from the Lord, and brought birds, quails, from out of the sea, He brought birds from, here's the deal, okay? I always told my Sunday school class that the Lord made these birds fly in from miles and miles away, and by the time they got down to the camp, they were so tired that they hit the ground and the people were able to catch them. Well, I was wrong. It says right here, Stella, Moses went out to the camp along with the elders of Israel, and there went forth a wind from the Lord and brought birds, quails, from out of the sea and let them fall by the camp, as it were by a day's journey on this side and on the other side. All around the camp, these birds were falling, and as it were 3 feet high of birds upon the face of the earth. And the people stood up all that day and all that night and all the next day gathering quail. They didn't even go to bed. They're so hard up. He that gathered the least amount, he gathered 10 to 11 bushels. And they spread them all abroad for themselves all around the camp. And while the meat was still between their teeth being chewed, the anger of the Lord was growing against the people. And the Lord struck the people with a very bad plague. Here's the deal. I can only imagine that the Lord was looking down in disgust and seeing a bunch of people acting like pigs. And he called the name of that place Kibroth Hattaavah, because it was there that they buried those greedy people. And the people journeyed from Kibroth Hattaavah to Hazeroth, and they stood there for a while. Chapter 12. Oh, this is going to get good. And Moses' sister Miriam and Aaron were saying things bad about Moses because of Moses' Ethiopian wife. They're talking behind his back. And they said, has the Lord indeed only spoken to Moses? Has he not spoken also to us? And the Lord heard it. Oh no, the Lord heard. Now the man Moses was very patient and humble above all the men on the face of the earth. So now we know, in order to be patient and humble, God loves that. And God will use you if you're patient and humble. And Moses was the most humble above all the men on the face of the earth. And the Lord spoke suddenly to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam and said, you 3 come out of the out of the tabernacle. And they came out. And the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the doorway of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam. And they both came forward. Oh, golly. Oh no, God's getting ready to punish somebody. And they both came forward, and he said, now you listen to what I have to say. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known to him in a vision and will speak to him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so. He is faithful in all my house. With him I will speak mouth to mouth and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord shall he behold. Got it? Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he departed. And the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and when it did, when the cloud disappeared, behold, Miriam became leprous. She turned as white as snow. Now, when the Lord was rebuking Miriam and Aaron, you gotta know that the Lord sounded mean and angry with a man's deep voice, like your dad does when he gets mad at somebody and he has to give everybody a what for, and he's got a deep voice and he scares everybody. Isn't that something? You know God was that mad. And Aaron looked at her, and behold, she was leprous. Anybody remember what leprosy is? And Aaron said to Moses, alas, my Lord, small l, I beg you, lay not the sin on us, wherein we have done foolishly and have sinned. Let her not be as one dead woman, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb. And Moses cried to the Lord, saying, please, Lord, heal her now, O God, I beg you. Because she was headed for death. She was going to die from leprosy. And the Lord said to Moses, if her father has spit in her face, should she not be ashamed for 7 days? Let her be exiled out from the camp for 7 days, and after that, you can let her back in the camp again. And Miriam was taken out of the camp for 7 days, and the people did not travel until Miriam was brought back into the camp again. Now, leprosy is really highly contagious. And leprosy starts like white on your skin and eventually starts eating through to the bone till you're no longer existing. Anyway, afterward that Miriam was brought into the camp, the people finally left Hazeroth and pitched in the wilderness of Paran. Now, we're going to chapter 13. Chapter 13 tells me that they are now very close to reaching the promised land or Canaan. So how many years have they traveled so far? 2 years. They've been on the road for 2 years. So the children, they were headed to, let me see. Wait. Oh, I lost my place. Okay, let me start in chapter 13. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "You need to send men to search the promised land of Canaan, which I will give to the children of Israel, one ruler from each tribe." And Moses obeyed the commandment of the Lord and sent 12 men from the wilderness of Paran, one man for each tribe, and there's 12 tribes. And these are the people he sent. They were actually the heads of the children of Israel. Now, you would think that because they're the heads, that they were almost like Moses and would on their way to heaven. Oh my goodness, look what happened to these heads. I'm telling you that the heads of the whole children of Israel, these 12 men. These were the heads of the children of Israel that were sent. From the tribe of Reuben, Shammua was sent. From the tribe of Simeon, Shaphat was sent. From the tribe of Judah was Caleb. From the tribe of Issachar was Igal. From the tribe of Ephraim was Oshea. From the tribe of Benjamin was Palti. From the tribe of Zebulun was Gadiel. From the tribe of Joseph, namely from the tribe of Manasseh, was Gadi. From the tribe of Dan was Amiel. From the tribe of Naphtali was Nabi. From the tribe of Gad was Gul. These are the names of the men which Moses sent to spy out the promised land. And Moses called Hoshea, which was one of the heads, and he changed his name to Jehoshua or Joshua. Keep in mind, these men are leaders and they hold high positions among the children of Israel. Let's see what they did wrong. And Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan. And he said to them, "Go south and up into the mountain and see what the land is like. Find out about the people that live there, whether they are strong or weak, a lot of them or just a few of them, and what the land is like, where they are living, whether it is good or bad. And find out what cities are they living in, whether they are living in tents or strong homes, and whether the land has good soil or lean, and whether there be wood there also or not, no wood. And be of good courage. Be brave, you guys, and bring back some fruit from the land so we could see." Now, the time was the time for harvesting first striped grapes. So they went up and searched the land from the wilderness of Zin to Rehob. And they ascended by the south and came to Hebron, where Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmai, I'm going to say this, Hebron is in the promised land in Canaan, okay? But now they've reached the place where where Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmai, the children of Anak, were living, okay? Now, Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. I don't know why the Lord put that in there. I don't understand that part. And they came to the brook of Eshcol and cut down a branch with one cluster of grapes, and it took 2 men to carry it on a pole or staff, to carry one cluster of grapes. And they also brought pomegranates and figs. So you know they're in the promised land, sneaking around and checking out the land. The place they were at was called the brook Eshcol because of the cluster of grapes which the spies cut down from there. And after 40 days of being in that land, they returned from searching out the land. Now, Why do you suppose it took two men to carry that one cluster of grapes? Anybody? And why did they have to put that cluster of grapes on a pole? So that the one pole came over the one man's shoulder, and then the grapes were on the pole, and then out over the other man's shoulder. Because those grapes, one grape alone was about this big, and there was a cluster of them. Can you imagine how heavy that must have been? Anyway, after 40 days of spying out the land, they came back to Moses. And they went to Moses, Aaron, and all the congregation of the children of Israel who were waiting in the wilderness of Paran to Kadesh, and brought back word of what they found out. They also showed them the fruit they brought back from the land of Canaan. They told Moses, "We came to the land where you sent us, and indeed, it really does flow with milk and honey. And this is the fruit we brought back. Check it out." Nevertheless, the people living there were strong looking, and the cities have big walls all around them. We also saw the children of Anak there. The Amalekites live in the land on the south. The Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites live in the mountains. And the Canaanites live by the sea near the coast of Jordan. And Caleb asked the people, And Caleb asked the people to quiet down. He said to Moses, "Let us go up at once." Because, people were always like, "What? Wow, that sounds awesome." And then so Caleb said, "Everybody please quiet down." And he said to Moses, "Let us go up at once and take it over, for we are well able to overcome it." We could do it, Moses, we could do it. But, here's a big but. The men that went up with him said, "Oh no, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are." What happened? Did these men forget about God? Did they forget what God promised? God promised to give them the promised land. Do you really think that God takes back his promises? No. We are not able to go up against the people, for they're stronger than we are. And those men brought up an evil report about the land they searched out, saying, "The land where we went is a land that destroys their inhabitants, or the people thereof. And all the people that we saw are big men of great stature, very muscular men, tall. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come from the giants. We must have looked like grasshoppers compared to them. There's no way we could go in there and take over." Oh, brother, now what happened? Chapter 14. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and started to cry. And the people wept all night long. They were crying. Probably because they were discouraged in the thought of traveling to the promised land for over 2 years just to find out this was bad news. We can't do it. Come on, man. Here's what is, I always tell my kids in Sunday school. You're either going to be a leader or a follower. Now, this congregation decided to be followers of the bad guys. If they would have just all got together and remembered all the things God did for them, they never would have believed that these guys, that we can't do it, because God is on our side. And I'm telling you that God is on our side. And so all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron, and the whole congregation said to Moses and Aaron, "Would God have preferred that we had died in the land of Egypt or in the wilderness? And wherefore has the Lord brought us to this land to die by the sword, and our wives and children shall be hunted down? Wouldn't it have been better for us to return to Egypt?" Now these are the men speaking. Shame on you. And they said to each other, "Let us appoint a captain and let us return to Egypt." Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation. And Joshua and Caleb, which were the two of the spies that searched out the land, they rent their clothes, or they tore their clothes, and spoke to the children of Israel and said, "The land that we searched is an exceeding good land. If the Lord loves us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us just like he promised." Come on, people. It is a land flowing with milk and honey. Only please don't rebel against the Lord, and don't be afraid of the people who live in that land, for they are bread for us. Their protection has departed from them, and the Lord is with us. So don't be afraid of them. Instead, all the congregation commanded that they be stoned to death. Stone Joshua, stone Caleb. They don't know what they're talking about. And the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle before all the children of Israel. And the Lord said to Moses, how long will these people provoke me? How long will it be before they believe me? Even after all the miracles I have showed them. Now I'm going to tell you something. Some of you might be going through something. Some of you might have been going through something for over a year, maybe 2 years. God promised he would heal you. God promised he would take care of it. And yet you're still going through it. And you know you're getting on God's last nerve. How long is it going to take for you to believe that God can take care of your problems? God will heal your brokenness. Whatever the problem is, don't give up on God, but believe it, and believe it for right now, not a year from now or 2 years from now. You've got to believe God when he says he's going to do what he does. And according to my Bible, it says you can be healed if you have faith in God. Use it. Don't go another day, another month, another year bickering about how bad you feel, how sick you are, and making God mad. You're making him mad. You know, you don't have to do this. I will kill them with the pestilence, and I will disinherit them, and will make of you, Moses, a greater nation and mightier than they are. And Moses said to the Lord, if you do that, then the Egyptians will hear what happened and will tell everyone that because the Lord was not able to bring this people into the land which he swore to them, therefore he just killed them out there in the wilderness because he was not able to bring them to the promised land. Lord, you don't want that. Please, Lord. And so I beg you, Lord, let the power of my Lord be great, according as you have said. You said yourself, Lord, that the Lord is long-suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. Pardon, I beg you, the iniquity of this people according to the greatness of your mercy, and as you have forgiven this people from the time they left Egypt even till now. And the Lord said, I have pardoned according to your word, Moses. You know, whatever Moses, you know what, you're right. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord, because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now for the 10th time, and have not hearkened to my voice, surely they shall not see the promised land, which I swear to their forefathers, neither shall any of them that provoke me will see the promised land. They don't deserve to. Except my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him and has followed me fully. Him I will bring into the land where he went along with his children. Now I know it says just Caleb, but it's both. I'll read you in a minute, both Joshua and Caleb. Now, the Amalekites and the Canaanites lived in the valley, remember? And God said, tomorrow I want you to turn around and go back into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron and said, how long shall I put up with this evil congregation who murmurs against me? I have heard murmurings of the children of Israel, which they murmur against me. Say to them, as truly as I live, saith the Lord, as you have spoken in my ears, so will I do to you. Your carcasses are going to fall in this wilderness, and all that were counted of you according to your whole number from 20 years old and up, which have murmured against me, I doubt you shall ever see the promised land, with the exception of Caleb and Joshua. By your little ones, which you said would be hunted down, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which you have despised. But as for you, your carcasses are going to fall in this wilderness, and your children shall wander in the wilderness for 40 years and bear your whoredoms until your carcasses are wasted in the wilderness. So now the children are going to be punished for what these unbelievers who have been walking with God, now their children have to pay for it. They have to go back to the wilderness, and this time they're going to walk in the wilderness for 40 years. After the number of 40 days, the amount of days in which they spied out the land. Each day for a year shall you bear your iniquities. So 40 years you shall know my breach of promise. I, the Lord, have said it. I will surely do it. Unto all this evil congregation that are gathered together against me in this wilderness, they shall be consumed, and there they shall die. Now, when we get farther into the Word of God, they continue to keep making God mad, which is why we will read eventually that God is going to divorce them because he's had enough. He's had enough of them. And the men which Moses sent to search the land, who returned and made all the congregation to murmur against him by bringing up slander upon the land, even those men that did bring up the evil report concerning the land, died by the plague before the Lord. But Joshua and Caleb, which were among the men that went to spy out the promised land, continued to live. So those men, those other 10 men, died immediately from a bad plague. And the rest of the families and the children had to go back to the wilderness. And Moses told these sayings to all the children of Israel, and the people mourned greatly. Oh, they were so sorry. Well, it's too late. And the men that gave a bad report rose up early in the morning and went up to the top of the mountain and said, we're going to stay here and we will go into the place which the Lord has promised us, even though we have sinned. How nervy. Those men, before they died of a plague, they said, we're going to come up to the mountain. We're going to stay there, and then we're going to go into the promised land with the rest of you. I don't care if we sinned or not. I don't care about God. We're going. That's what they're saying. And Moses said, why do you continue to transgress the commandment of the Lord? I don't get you. But what you say shall not prosper. Don't go up in the mountain, for the Lord is not going to be with you, or you will be killed by your enemies. For the Amalekites and the Canaanites will be there in front of you, and you're going to die by the sword because you have turned away from the Lord. Therefore, the Lord will not be with you. But they refused to believe Moses. So they proceeded to go up into the hilltop. Nevertheless, the ark of the covenant of the Lord and Moses did not leave the camp. Then the Amalekites and the Canaanites, which lived in the hill, came down, saw those men, and killed them, defeated them, even made them run all the way to Hormah, and then killed them all. That's it for our lesson today. I know we finished a little bit early. Thank you, Cheryl, for tuning in. So, are there any questions before I turn off the machine? No questions. Questions, Cheryl? Okay. We will see you again on Thursday, January 16th. I pray that each one of you live your life to please the Lord, so he will bless this new year for you. I love you, everybody. Have a good weekend. Bye.